Hi, and welcome to Let's Get Distracted, episode 45. Tonight, we're going to talk about your body partnership. And with me, I have Laura Buckley. Welcome, Laura.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. First, I'm Michelle Burke, coming to you live from Annapolis, Maryland. Many of you know that after 30 years as a corporate tax accountant, I went out on my own and created Health and Taxes last year. There are only two things certain in life, death and taxes. I'm here to help you flip that to health and less taxes. Every Sunday night, I come to you to get you distracted, take you away from your TV, and bring you something educational. And tonight, we're going to talk about that relationship you have with food and your body partnership. And with me, I have Laura Buckley. Let me tell you a little bit about Laura. Laura has a vision of a world in which people can live freely, fully, and authentically in the body that they were born into. As a registered dietitian and intuitive life coach, she helps people move away from prescribed norms and ideals around food, around health, and move toward a definition of well-being that feels true and attainable for individuals. Like I said, She's a registered dietitian. She has a master's in adult education, and a postgraduate in organizational consulting and change leadership. So with that, thanks for being here on Valentine's. Valentine's a lot about self-love and self-care, not just loving others. We need to be thinking about ourselves. So it's a good time to have you. So Laura, just jumping in here, tell us a little bit about your story, because I know you had your own unhealthy relationship with food. You had your own struggles. So tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, I sure did. Thank you so much. And I'm really excited to be here. So thank you for having me. So like you said, I had my own pretty significant struggles with food and body for the majority of my life. As I told Michelle before we jumped on here, that I have like three phases. I had an eating disorder phase, a disordered eating phase, and then a phase where I actually feel very healthy and secure in my body and my relationship with food. But when I was young, when I was in high school, I was treated for an eating disorder. And when I recovered from my eating disorder, I didn't have the eating disorder, but I continued to struggle and continued to always be very self-conscious, to always be concerned about what I could eat and what my body would do and if I was going to gain weight. And that went on for many years, and it went on mostly in private. It wasn't something I was public about. It wasn't something I talked about. I was a registered dietitian at the age of 24. So, for about 10 years, even as a registered dietitian, I still struggled with following these things that were taught are healthy eating behaviors and that help you maintain your weight. And I just always felt like I was talking to people about doing these healthy things, and I couldn't even do it myself. And it just felt shameful. It felt confusing. And I left the field. I don't know if at the time I really knew that disconnect was a big part of it, but I left the field and went into adult education after spending 8 years in the Army practicing dietetics. And when I got into adult education, I went into management consulting and coaching. And it was like immediately when I saw those tools about tuning into yourself and tuning into your body and becoming aware of your own emotional intelligence and being willing to sit with all emotions, uncomfortable ones and the ones that feel good. That was when I realized the power of what it means to actually feel good in your body and to have a healthy relationship with food and your weight. So it wasn't even about the habits of what was healthy. It was about how I was able to truly be with myself. That's why I talk about body partnership. That's why my philosophy is called body partnership, is because what it really came down to for myself, and then what I teach in my practice, is how to feel at home in your own skin. Not in pursuit of weight loss, not in pursuit of some perfect diet, not in pursuit of the perfect amount of exercise, but just an ability to feel at home and connected in a healthy relationship with yourself.
I think that's so fantastic. And the fact that you spent a long time in this journey, not even knowing that this is where you wanted to go,
Right.
but realizing when you started getting these tools that, oh my gosh, I have a story to tell. I've had this struggle. Now I have these tools, and now I appreciate my own body and being in the line and doing things right. And you've taken that and you're now coaching people on how they can get in alignment or how to heal their relationship with food. How does someone kind of start that journey? What kind of things do you ask them when you first start coaching them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the very first thing that the very first thing I work with people on is really understanding the why of our goals. So when people work with me, the people who work with me are really people who have been on the diets and they're like, I don't want to do another diet, but I still want to feel good in my body. I still want to feel healthy. I still want to feel good. I don't want to do the diet roller coaster. I know what happens over there, but what do I do instead? Right? So that's usually where somebody is when they're starting with me. And so then what we work on, we start off by saying, okay, tell me about a goal. I don't even really care. It doesn't have to be like the super right goal or the one goal you want to work on, but just tell me about some of your goals. And then we look beneath the surface and we say, okay, what's driving that goal? What's the foundation of that goal? What if you achieve that goal, what will it create for you? How will you feel? How will you behave? How will you be when you reach that goal? And then we start working on that today. You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait for anything to start being that version of yourself. And so when we get to the foundational roots, and they're usually emotional, right? Like about how we want to feel on an energetic and a vibrational level. So then we start really working on being that version of yourself today. Because so much of what diet culture teaches us is that you have to get there, wherever there is, right? You have to run the half marathon, or you have to lose the 20 pounds, or you have to do the thing, and then you can be there. But the truth is, we need to just look at how do we become that person regardless, and how do we embrace the journey so that we're becoming a stronger version of ourselves as we heal and as we learn these tools.
Oh, that's such a great point. In that in dieting, you're always like, okay, here's my goal. And it's out in the future, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, a year, whatever. But it's that goal. I love the thought that you're helping people get in touch with themselves here and now, mm-hmm. and work being that person. And when you're that person, things start coming into alignment and you start making better choices, right?
Yeah. And I always say, so here, the other thing that's really important about like body partnership and the philosophy that I teach is really learning to be at home in the body you're in today. And when you take care of it, right? When you are in that partnership with it and you're listening to it and you're responding and you're allowing, like you're doing the things that your body is telling you it would like, then we just see what your body does. Because the other sort of lie of diet culture is that anybody can lose weight and we all should want to.
Right.
And it's just not true. It's just not true. And so I always say, and I totally understand that some people feel better when they're carrying less weight, and there are benefits to it in terms of, for some people there are benefits. And I always say, let that just be a secondary effect, not the focus, not the goal, not what we're in pursuit of. But if your body decides to change along the way, we just don't know if it will, right? We don't know if your body will want to change. And that's part of like partnership. And I think about partnership a lot. Like I think about being in partnership with our actual partners, with our children, with our colleagues. All we can control is how we show up.
Right.
And then what the other element of the partnership does is going to be based on what feels best and right for them. It's the same with your body. It's just not true that we have to be small to be healthy, or that we need to lose weight to be more worthy or to be more accepted. That's why being in partnership at home with yourself helps to really override the societal conditions. And, I just want to acknowledge that I do live in a thin body. So I have that thin privilege. And so it's important, I think, that we do acknowledge that as we talk about these things, and because there is a different experience for people who live in a bigger body. But my goal is actually to change that, to change our conditioning and to change the way we view body size so that everybody can feel free to live fully and authentically and freely in their body.
Right. And not have this pressure from society or what we think we're supposed to be doing or supposed to look like. We're supposed to be exercising. I hate exercise. Why would I exercise? Or I hate, eating certain things. I like eating other things. Why would I eat that and be unhappy with it? But I love the thought of listening to our bodies and listening to what it has to say. And
yeah, it's a big piece of what I teach people is how to connect. So diet culture, the diet industry really encourages us to move through our head, right? Like it's knowledge. Like if I know that, that this food is good for me, then I should just want to eat it, right? That's just not the way it works. Like if we did, we'd whatever. But so it's really about connecting your mind and your body and to really be able to hear. And so I always tell people, you don't even have to do what your body says. Like if you're like, okay, I'm tuning into my body and I'm asking it what it needs. And I teach a process for this, but when you tune in, if your body's like, I could use a nap, and you're like, I have a 2:00 conference call, right? Like you can't always do what your body would like. But when we acknowledge and we listen and we get curious, it opens up these lines of communication so that it can happen more quickly and more easily.
I think that's awesome. So tell us a little bit, I'm going to sidetrack a little bit, but I know that you were doing a podcast this morning. I want to hear just a little bit about the chapter you wrote for an upcoming book.
Yes. I'm so glad you asked. So I wrote a chapter in the book that will be coming out early March called The Ultimate Guide to Self-Healing. It's volume 4. And my chapter is called Habits That Heal. And it's about tapping into your personal energy to engage in habit change that really lasts. And so it's really all about how it actually goes through some of these things we talked about. It's really digging into your goals, really getting to know your goals at the foundational level. So instead of the outcome, we look at the really foundation. And so that's the first piece of it. But then I talk about this tool for really connecting your mind to your body so that you can, I always say connect, then listen, and then trust, right? So we've got to choose to connect with our body, connect to that mind body. Then we got to listen to what our body's actually saying when we ask it questions, and then trusting that that's actually the right way to go, right? By doing it and looking for the results and feeling that confidence that it is the right way. Because most of the time your body's going to tell you it wants something different from what like our established norms and ideals are.
Right. And I think I would assume over time you start developing that trust. And
yes, exactly.
Once you see the results of listening and you see the results of the habits, and you're like, okay, it's okay. I can start trusting myself. I do know I am the only expert of my own self. So
right.
I think that's wonderful. Yeah. So I'm very excited. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
I'm just very excited that book's coming out. Definitely will check it out.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Very excited about it. I was on the podcast interview with 3 other authors this morning, plus the publisher of the book, Laura DeFranco, and I was just like blown away by the other authors as well. It's a great group of people who contributed.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of really, really good information in that. So looking forward to that. So Laura, I know you do individual coaching, but you have a special group coaching coming up. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I created a group coaching program. It's called the Path to Body Partnership, and it's a 10-week, once a week group coaching program where we're really going to walk through all of these tools, but more importantly, we're going to coach around them, right? We're going to give people the opportunity to really dig into the tool, to to get coached, to share concerns and challenges, and to be in a supportive community of other people. It's a small group. I'm actually only going to have 5 or 6 people in the group because it's very important to me that it feels intimate and safe and secure for people, because this is a vulnerable topic. Many people who struggle with weight and struggle with food, we do it in a fairly secretive way because it's vulnerable and because there's so many messages that making changes is easy, or that you just have to do this, or it can happen very quickly. And then when that's not the experience we have, especially so many of my clients are perfectionists, right? So when we're like, "Wait a minute, it's not working for me," it ends up feeling very lonely. And I would say it's such a shame that this thing that, more than 70% of women at any time are on a diet, and yet we all feel like we're alone in the struggle. It just, so it's about creating that safe environment for people to have conversations, to share their worries, to share their vulnerability, to try to, to take these actions and to develop that trust together. I think it's very powerful actually to see somebody else get coached on the struggle you're having, because it takes the emotional element out a little bit, makes it a little bit less personal. So it's easier to see the path sometimes when somebody else is getting coached on it.
Yeah. And we might be a little more willing to see the path and listen to the path, maybe, because she's not telling me what to do. I'm hearing it, seeing, and it's probably, oh yeah, I can see that's what she needs to do. Yeah, that's what she needs to do. Oh, I'm not the only one in this position or something, not the only one struggling.
It's funny because I have a body partnership webinar series. It's another thing that I launched for 2021. I am currently launching both the webinar for February and the group program, so maybe my timing wasn't perfect. But for our webinar in January, we were doing an exercise about listening, and one of the journaling prompts was "I desire," and someone said, "I feel funny saying this, but I desire food." And somebody else was like, "Me too." And then one other person was like, "I wrote that too." And just to know you're not alone, to know you're not the only one, to have fun with this stuff. Like, that's another thing I say is, like, if you want to have some fun with this, I'm your girl, because I do think it should be fun. Like, I think taking care of our body and being at home in our body should be like the most fun thing we do. Because we do it all day, every day, right? Like, we're building this relationship over time. So let's have some fun. Let's have some laughs. Let's connect. Let's, we definitely cry in our sessions, but we also laugh and we have fun and we connect.
Oh, I think that's wonderful. It's not, you're going to connect if you're laughing and crying and going through all those different emotions. And I bet people really come close out of that. So you mentioned that it's a 10-week coaching course. It starts March 1st.
It starts on March 1st is a Monday. So it starts March 1st, which means the Facebook group will kick off and we'll introduce ourselves. The coaching sessions are actually on Fridays at noon. So the first session will be whatever that is, March 5th.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. And it'll be through a Zoom webinar? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to pop up here your website and show people where they can go if they want to go out and register. The registration's not open yet, but there's a note.
It's not. So
right?
on this page, you can go and put your name on the wait list for the group program, which will launch February 21st. And I'll have some early bird specials for people who are on that list. So if you want to get your name on that list, I have a couple things, some benefits for people who register early. And you'll also see the webinar for this month, which is February 20th. And that's what I call redefining healthy, which is a really important part of body partnership, is like creating this definition of health that is authentic for you, not somebody else's great idea about what it means for you to be healthy. And so it's all about how to create that new definition and then work toward it your way. And the group coaching program is definitely, it's an investment of money and time and energy, right? Like, that's definitely a fairly intense program to help people along this path very quickly. So the webinar is also just a great kind of a taste of this work. It's an hour on a Saturday morning.
All right. So people can go out, check out the webinar. I know on your blog page, you have some really great information. You have a beautiful website.
Thank you.
And the blog page, I was very intrigued by some of the posts I saw there. So I'll
I
have
really
to go
appreciate
back
that.
and visit some of those. Laura, as we're kind of wrapping up here, any final words you would like to share with our audience? And I'll invite our audience, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments, or if you watch this in replay, feel free to put a comment and we'll circle back to you.
Yeah, that would definitely, absolutely happy to answer any questions. I think the only thing I would say is, if you are feeling that frustration and if you're feeling like something has got to give, like there has to be an answer, and I know it's not keto, then, it doesn't have to be me. There are lots of people who are doing, non-diet work these days. And so just to know there is an option out there, just to know there is a way that doesn't just work on changing a habit. It works on really creating a solid connection and a solid foundation between your mind, body, and spirit. And I always say, like, I think about body partnership as like a triangle. I think about self-care as like a triangle. So oftentimes we have our self at the bottom, like of how much we're giving like our love and energy and attention. And then we have like the next people, like our family and like our immediate people who are in our home or close with us. And then maybe our work. And then we have like society, and we're like, here trying to please all the societal norms that we've been raised into. And when our energy on ourself is so little, we're kind of always ready to tip, right? If you think about a triangle trying to stand on its tip, it could just like tip at any time. And when we just put a little bit more energy there, and you just think about that tip expanding just a little, even if it expanded an inch or a foot, how much more stable that becomes, so that we're less impacted by the other things that go on around us, or the changes and chaos and stress and demands and all the things. The more we can build out that connection, that partnership with ourselves, and create that more stable base, the more we have for the rest of it.
Oh, that's a great analogy, because I often hear women out there, especially caregivers to their family, that they've got to remember to fill up their own cup, because they're not going to have enough to get, they're just giving, and they forget about themselves and their health suffers. So that's a really great analogy to the more you stabilize yourself, the wider that funnel, wider that triangle, even more that you can give.
And even maybe in a way that it kind of evens back out, where the societal pressures aren't necessarily as impactful. They'll always be there, but maybe not as impactful. And where we maybe even have even more to give our families and ourselves, the things that really are our more foundational pieces.
Oh, I love that analogy. That's great. Okay, because you said it, I have to ask, keto. Is that
like, I saw that thought, like, are you going to say it? Are you going to say it? And then it just came out my mouth.
I'm only going to ask because you think it's not sustainable, or what is the concern?
I just don't think it's necessary. I don't think so. Most people, okay, listen, I'm not here to give advice. I can't give any like advice from that kind of perspective. But here's the thing about keto. For most people, it's not sustainable. And what I hate to see for people is there's so many things. It's not sustainable. It cuts out very important food groups for most people. Most people need the wide variety of foods. And it can have some impact on the body. So there are some areas that that it can have the impact on. But the more important piece in terms of like body partnership in my work is that most people who do it in an effort to change their body. They do it because they've seen a lot of people lose weight with it. And that is sort of the secondary problem, is that this pursuit of weight loss is what we have started to consider health. And it's about unraveling that connection. So it's about unraveling health and weight and doing sort of anything for the pursuit of weight loss, sort of that at any cost. If weight loss is the outcome, then it's worth it. And so, I mean, I could go on and on about it, but what I just really want to say is, if you do it and you feel amazing on it, and it fires you up and it lights you up and you feel energized and you feel sustained and you feel amazing on it, that's fine, right? But it's about if it's because we want this quick weight loss and then we're putting our bodies through this thing that creates actually something very different from health, even if it results in weight loss.
I think that's a great explanation. And thank you for answering that, because that's very helpful. And I appreciate that. All right. Well, we'll wrap up here. Thank you so much for coming out on Valentine's evening, and hope you get to enjoy the last bit of the night.
My pleasure. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
And I think thanks all of our listeners tonight for tuning in. And please join us again next Sunday. I'll be back with Let's Get Distracted with another educational episode. And hope to see everybody here. So thank you and good night.